All right, let's move into some questions with percent for simple interest. So we can also use percents to figure out the amount of interest that we have to pay or that will be paid on an investment. So for example, if we want to find the interest we have to pay, if we borrow $2,000 for 1 year at 9.5%, so 9.5% is our rate. The $2,000 was our original amount. So that's our base. That's our total. We're trying to figure out what is 9.5% of 2,000. So I'm just going to, they've kind of skipped a step here. So I'm just going to write those as equivalent fractions. So we've got A over 2,000 equals 9.5, or I'm going to convert that to a decimal, 9.5 over 100. And so now if we want to solve for A, we can bring that 2,000 up and over to the other side of the equal sign. Remember, you can think of that also as multiplying both sides by 2,000. So I get 9.5 times 2,000 over 100. And so let's calculate that out. Okay, and you get 190. So if you borrow $2,000, you're going to be paying an extra $190 in interest after a year if your annual interest rate was 9.5%, which is quite a lot. But credit cards charge even more. Credit cards are usually around 20%. So if you borrowed $2,000, you're paying about $400 just in interest over a year, which is why it's always good to try to eliminate credit card debt. It's a very high percentage. Okay, next one. We invest $5,000 for 1 year at an annual rate of 8.5%. We want to know how much interest we will earn. So our rate then is 8%. Sorry, 8.5. I'm going to convert that to a decimal, 8.5. Okay, you could have also converted that to an improper fraction for 17 over 2. I'm going to do 8.5, and that's out of 100. Okay, our total investment amount is 5,000. So we're looking for what is 8.5% of 5,000, because that's how much we're going to earn. So that's going to be, our amount is our X. So let's set up our equivalent fractions. And now I'm going to move this 5,000 up and over the equal sign, or multiply both sides by 5,000. Remember, that's really what we're doing here. So we can cancel out those 5,000s. And we get 8.5 times 5,000 over 100. And so let's see what that gives us. And so I get 425. So you will earn $425. I would say that's a very optimistic interest rate for today's economy, especially in something with a guaranteed annual rate. But $425 sounds pretty good. Okay, let's take a look at the next one. Miss Hobson agrees to pay 11% interest on a loan for her new car. So she's charged $2,200 interest on the loan over the 1 year. We want to know how much she originally borrowed. So we're looking at 11%, so 11 out of 100. Where's that 2,200 going to go? Well, that's the amount of interest. That's the percentage she's paying on her base amount of our loan. So the base is what we're looking for here. 2,200 is the amount. That's the amount of interest. And so we can set up our equivalent fractions here. Okay, and I'm going to do the cross product method. So I'm going to multiply, I'm going to draw myself that X, because when the X is in the denominator, sometimes that's the easiest way to do it. So we've got 2,200 times 100. And I'm going to change that multiplication symbol to a dot to make this more clear. And that equals 11 times X, or 11X. Now I want to isolate the x. I want just one x. So I'm going to divide both sides by 11. And so I get x is 2,200 times 100 over 11. So let's calculate that out and see what we get. And we get 20,000. So she borrowed $20,000. So go ahead, look at that next problem, pause the video and see if you can do it on your own. Okay, and hopefully you've had a chance to try this problem. Let's do it together now. So Sue pays $210 in interest and her loan rate is 10.5%. So she's paying 10.5 out of 100, 10.5%. She's paying $210 in interest. So that $210 was the 10.5%. So that goes up here and x is our base again. We're trying to solve for our base. So let's set up our equivalent fractions. And then once again, I'm going to do the cross product method here. So I'm going to multiply those together and I'll get 10.5x equals 100 times 210. And then we want to isolate our x, so we're going to divide both sides by 10.5. Because we know if we divide by the coefficient of that x, the 10.5s are going to cancel. And so we're left with, let's calculate that out. And I get 2,000. So her loan is $2,000. And that's it for simple interest.